in circles, finding the time.
Just homelessness means not having a roof over your head, not having somewhere to lay your head down and sleep at night time.
You just get people without support who need help, really, and I feel sorry for homeless people.
So homelessness represents to me people who've fallen on hard times, maybe going through a rough patch in their life. They might suffer from some kind of mental illness, and they've really kind of run out of options. And this is the kind of people that deserve a lot of welfare to help get them back on their feet and rehabilitate them.
Where I can't call my home, I'm handing out pity to ones that I don't know, and the blocks build up.
I'm Penny. I'm 57 years old. I've been an OWL for just over 12 years. OWL stands for Older Women Lost in Housing. My journey as an OWL started here on Mount Ainslie. Up until my 30s, I lived in a very average household. I had a safe, secure place that really felt like home. I could afford the things that I needed. It wasn't extravagant, but it was a basic, reasonable life within a home. In my early 30s, I was sent on a work exercise up Mount Ainslie where I had an accident. As a result of that, I was left totally and permanently incapacitated. I then found that my relationship with my partner broke down and I had an inequitable settlement in combination with no superannuation savings as a result of the gender pay gap from my younger years. I then found myself as an OWL, lost in housing with nowhere to go and no opportunity to afford a reasonable home or unit in Canberra or anywhere else nationally.
In Australia, there's still what we call a gender wage gap, so women earn close to 20% less than men, and it's a form of discrimination that still hasn't been eradicated, and women are taking too much time out of the workforce when they have children. So therein lies their problem. Women being the main carer within families, they are the ones who are seen to be required to have the flexibility. They need to bring in some income for the family, but they are the ones who make the sacrifices in terms of their career in order for their children to be raised at all, while the men tend to stay in their careers, so no disruption, which means they get promotion, and they also tend to go into high paying occupations. So when the divorce happens, they're still in that nice career that pays well, whereas women are often they might be working 2 days or 3 days a week, for example, and then they have to make decisions about if they have care of the children and they have to now pay rent. What do they have? What can they do? It becomes quite a financial crisis.
Someone is still hurt, is still hurt. I didn't know someone could feel so lonely with so many people around.
So I've moved 7 times, right up until now when I've received social housing. Each time I moved, it was necessary because I needed to find somewhere cheaper, but each place that was cheaper was more substandard. So the more substandard meant more of a health risk and more of a safety risk for me. So eventually I ended up coming to Canberra, where I rented a room in a friend's house and I went to housing to apply for social housing, where I was told that I would be 65 years old or older before I would even be offered anything. So on a pension, I wasn't able to afford private rent.
Our private rental market is, I think, the third least affordable in Australia after Sydney and Darwin. And Melbourne's rental prices are creeping up a bit faster than ours are, so they'll probably catch us. But if you're looking at a 1-bedroom place in the private market, which a single pensioner would would need if they weren't in some kind of shared accommodation. That's about $320 a week, and the aged pension, even with rent assistance, I think would give you about $410. So you're really looking at $90 a week for every other expense in your life. So that's groceries. As people age, their health costs probably increase. They need transport to get to appointments. So you'd really struggle, I think, to run a car.
So while it seems expensive for a person living on a pension, it's still a home, and a home is so important. A home is where everything else flourishes from, and particularly it's secure. Living somewhere that's not secure puts people in a very precarious situation, and I think it impacts on your mental health in a negative way.
Housing stress is something that on its own is an issue that someone may or may not be able to deal with in its entirety. It's when you start to add everything together. So housing stress coupled with isolation. What does housing stress mean for the individual? Are they struggling with financial distress? Are they struggling with illness, physical or mental health illness at the time? Do they have a support network around them? So there are a number of things that can lead to an individual falling into ill health, physical or mental. And I think it's about addressing all of those individual risks to an individual, and for the individual to be aware of the fact that there is help available when it comes to certain things. So whilst there might not be immediate relief with regard specifically to housing stress, it's about knowing that mental health organisations, physical health organisations, community groups are in existence to be able to try and remove some of that stress and prevent that from taking hold of their health.
The numbers of women who are experiencing this are absolutely staggering. According to the 2011 ABS stats, there's over 600,000 women in this age group who are 45 or over, who are single, who will not own their own home by retirement. So these numbers I don't feel are accurate. I think they're underrepresented of the numbers of women that really exist. So for example, in that census, according to the questions and my information that was required, I was counted as a visitor. So if I was counted as a visitor in that census, how many other women in my position were also considered as visitors? So therefore I think those numbers are very, very skewed.
The research that I have done over the last 10 years points to a large degree of women, particularly older women's homeless, being invisible. But women, I think per se, a lot of their homelessness is invisible because of they don't like to sleep rough because it's extremely dangerous to do so. So if they have a car, they'll tend to sleep in their cars, and they have to move around a lot. So that's very invisible to people, that they don't see that, or they will couch surf with friends while they're able to.
The number of women in this situation is absolutely staggering, and governments still haven't recognised it, partly because the women themselves don't feel free to speak up. They're afraid. They have a fear of discrimination and stigma of being attached with their situation. So what I did was set up OWLS, which is a website to raise awareness of the issue. It's important to raise awareness so that future generations of young women don't suffer the way we are, so that community knows that there is a problem and it's happening right under their feet, and so that the problem is recognised and acknowledged.
To ones that I don't know, and the blocks.
I speak with media whenever they approach me for an interview, so that's media across TV, radio and newspaper, and it helps raise awareness of the issue, which is great. I also give presentations, so I give presentations to social services groups and organisations whenever there's any events such as Homelessness Week, all those kind of issues that relate to housing.
There are solutions. We know what the problem is, we know what the issues are, there are solutions. Let's have some actual action and address those needs urgently.
I also give presentations to school groups in educating everybody from a young age to write up to this cohort, or this group of women, about what's actually happening. And I think in educating people, that's a preventative way and it raises awareness. There are three things that really need to change, and this is what I ask for when I advocate for affordable housing for older women. The stock of social housing really needs to increase. That's essential. The other thing that needs to be addressed is that the social housing that is made available is made to accommodate the needs of people as they age, and in terms of physical capacity and disability friendly. So that would be universally designed units or housing options under social housing. There needs to be a peak body. So that's one organisation that offers specialised gender specific advice to these women, and that would form as a solution and a preventative and educational model. And also the superannuation for women needs to be reformed to fit in with women's life patterns and how they interact in society. I feel very encouraged by the meeting with Lee Watson, particularly given her role as an affordable housing advocate and independent candidate, particularly in relation to older women and housing. It limits those women's capacity to be part of their society, it limits their ability to be socially included, it limits their ability to contribute economically and be a valued part of Canberra and community. This is a national problem. Right now I'm focusing on the ACT, given that it's an election year. There has been, as I've discussed, quite a lot of talk. No action has taken place. There is the Home Truth Shelter Report, ACT Shelter Report, which has identified the issue, which has identified solutions and recommendations, and no government across ACT has been willing to have the courage to stand up and put those recommendations in place for these women. We deserve a greater regard than we have been given.
In 2013, ACT Shelter received a grant to do a project which we called Home Truths, which looked at older women's vulnerability to housing stress and housing crisis, and also homelessness in retirement. And that report found quite a significant problem looming on the horizon, I suppose.
Someone could feel so lonely with so many people around. And I have lost my space.
Hopefully it will influence the next phase of the affordable housing strategy in the ACT, but in terms of the specific recommendations, they've not yet been taken up.
Today it's me. Tomorrow it could be you. It could be your mother, your grandmother, your aunt, your friend. It can be anyone you know. We are all just one step away from homelessness. We can stop this. Let's all work together. We can stop this now. We need community and policy makers to work together towards secure, affordable housing that benefits ours now and in the future.
Someone is still hurt, is still hurt. And I have lost my space. I'm running in circles, finding the time, trying to step out and stay in the line. My head's turning purple, I'm falling behind. Suddenly now, I don't feel so blind, I don't feel so blind.